Welcome into This Is Anfield Weekly. I'll be joined again today by Matt Ladson. Very special guest today with Rob Glover joining in the conversation. And gentlemen, great to be along with you. Rob, as you're our guest today, I'll go to you first. All the talk has been of the crisis for Liverpool, all of the injuries, how they're going to struggle this season. I looked at the league table and I saw a familiar face in the top position. What have you made of Liverpool's performances and how they've managed to put themselves in a position to grind out results over recent weeks?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been squad depth. It's been so fascinating to see and to sit back and go, right, okay, you know, without getting carried away the way last season really kind of ran away with the fairy, so to speak, and we were that enthusiastic. And every game, we just were walking into it knowing we were going to blow them away. But it's been an interesting roller coaster since kind of coming back to lockdown, the tail end of last season and then into this season. So it's been an interesting one to see the pace and the development. And, you know, you can point to so many different things, the fans not being in the stadium or the enthusiasm behind the team. But coming back to that initial first point is squad depth and the rotation. And it's been an interesting one to really kind of see how Jurgen's been able to navigate the problems that we've had. And I'm sure we'll dive into them in a moment. But it's been so fascinating to me to sit back, take that step back and kind of watch what's happening. And then the toughest part, you know, the whole VAR side of things as well, and not being able to celebrate a goal. So maybe it's felt a little bit subdued. But you're right, you know, to open that comment the way you just said then of us being back on top of the table, I guess the blue half of the city, I'll just have to deal with it again.
Matt, we haven't figured out what is the parade route for the Everton championship winning parade next May, because they'd already figured that out after 3 or 4 games. And no, but I mean, is there one particular thing you can point to, Matt? Because they're different performances, aren't they, than last season? But the results, West Ham had got a point against Manchester City, Liverpool beat them, Sheffield United, Ajax away, who've been blowing other teams away in their league play. What is it in particular you think Liverpool have done well?
I don't think it's that dissimilar to last season. I think that on Sky on Saturday night, like they even mentioned that, was it last season we won 14 games by a 1-goal margin. You know, we were always grinding them out. It was always like clinging on at the end or just hoping or like getting a late winner. So it's been similar in that respect, really. When you look at like the last 3-4 games, they're all 1-goal margins, grinding that result out. It's that resilience that's been built in. And, you know, you kind of joke about Everton there and how they had this invincible season that lasted 4 games, won the league in October, first team ever to do so. But that's why we always knew that it wasn't going to happen, because we've been in that part of the process before where we weren't able to grind out a win. You know, Newcastle for them today, they weren't able to do what we would have been able to have done in that situation. But we were in that situation that they find themselves in now, you know, 4 or 5 years ago under Jurgen. Whereas we now know we have that ability. You even go 1-0 down and we just still win 2-1, you know, consistently. And that is not something that just happens overnight. That is the whole squad, everybody buying in. You know, we're probably going to talk about Nat Phillips later on. But you've also got like Shaqiri coming on and, you know, creating that assist like so underrated. It was incredible. You know, and he and Phillips were both able to leave the club last month if the right club would come in. And that all of a sudden, you know, it's just Jurgen's ability to keep players interested and believe in the whole ethos of the squad, is that even though they were being almost kicked out the door a month ago, they're coming on and being match winners.
Just a quick point on Everton. We'll leave them alone after this, but a lot of Liverpool fans were annoyed about Jordan Pickford not picking up a suspension. I thought the panel made the correct decision. They said, no, let's really punish them. Let's make him play. And, you know, since then, he hasn't been at his best either. So, but we'll move on from there. I think for me, guys, the biggest thing is, you know, we worried about the centre-backs, but we've always been a collective defensively. So the work again, Jordan Henderson, I don't think we can continue to say people don't recognise the work he's done. I certainly hope not, because I thought he was excellent against West Ham. I think Gini, the amount of times he wins the ball back or protects the back four. I think Curtis Jones played well, you know, defensively for 60, 65 minutes. So for me, it's again, the players, the front three, not getting tired of buying into the fact that we defend as a group, and that limits the chances against us. And even, I know we conceded against Sheffield United and we conceded against West Ham, but you add up the amount of actual chances that we gave up in both games, and there wasn't very many. And I think that to me is testament to the group saying, yes, we've lost our best defender, but if we all add in, 2-3%, we can certainly make up for this loss. And that's such a pleasing thing, because Liverpool are great going forward, Rob, but they've always been a team that will outwork the opposition as well. And I think that's what we've done recently.
To outwork the opposition, I mean, you're right. It's such a mentality. I even feel this as a fan, sitting there just listening to Jurgen every press conference. I'd run through a brick wall for him wholeheartedly. So you can only imagine what the team has done and galvanised behind that. But then, as we say, the biggest injury, obviously Van Dijk, and I know that everyone else is saying it's the first ever injury in the Premier League history. but him as a character as well. I mean, not only within their group text, we saw it kind of at the initiation of lockdown, kind of the interaction, them all singing happy birthday to each other in many different languages. And I think that team ethos, that team spirit, not only for Jurgen, but then for Jordan Henderson, for Van Dijk, it's unbelievable. And I think that's something that really, I'd love to say that we're still only at the early stages of it. I'm excited for what the next 5 years look like for Liverpool Football Club. And I think that's the biggest thing, is I'm still pinching myself, that we did actually finally lift the trophy, and maybe, like you said, the parade route and stuff, we haven't been able to celebrate that yet, and we will down the line. But for everybody to give that extra couple of percent in a team ethos, that's what's going to make up the numbers. I
almost liken this, Matt, and you can comment on this. I hate comparing us to Man United, because people just don't want to talk about that. But when Man United first won the league in the early 90s, it was kind of like, they're not going to stay up there. They've won it, but now they're trying to bring through these kids. They're going to lose. They go win it again. Now they've lost, Roy Keane. Now they go win it. I thought Alex Ferguson, whatever you think about him, as a manager, he overcame those massive moments because he was this personality. And I think Rob just hit on it, Matt. Jurgen has that ability to say, so what? We're moving on. And it almost makes you stronger, because you still perform at a high level without the person you thought was the one you couldn't do without. And it's got to be scary for the league to see us sitting there at the top of the table, and we haven't clicked anywhere even close to top gear yet.
No, you speak about Ferguson, and as much as we all sort of detested the man as a Manchester United manager for the 2 decades that they dominated English football, the things that he did well are now the things that we're seeing Jurgen do well, which is getting the whole group to buy in, never being overdramatic if we win, lose, whatever it may be, and not using excuses in terms of a player leaving the club or getting injured long term. We still build, we still progress. And Ferguson did that. He rebuilt Man United. He had 2, 3, 4 different squads, and he was able to see, 4 years down the line. And we're starting to see a little bit of contingency planning even now with Jurgen, in that, the front 3 are all hitting 30 soon. So you've got Jota, who's 23, and he's come in, and you look and you think, well, in 2, 3, 4 years' time, when he's 26, 27 in his peak, he's going to be some player. So that's, the beauty of what Jurgen's doing, and we don't have to wax lyrical about Fergie too much, but
well, you set me up nicely, because I think the West Ham performance, good defensively, but 65 minutes in, I'm thinking, we haven't played too many forward passes here. We haven't looked that likely in the final third. And then the couple of changes, Shaq comes on and it's a superb through ball, but it's Jota again. And Rob, you can go first. Matt, you can jump on at the end and give your opinion, because I know you rate him. When Jota was initially announced, I think we all knew who he was, but everyone went online, let's have a look at this. And it looks like he could be a decent fit. I don't know if anybody saw him hit the ground running like he has. Rob, what have you made of his performances so far? What did you think of, how he played against West Ham? And, even adding on that, is he putting a little bit of pressure on the man who probably isn't firing right now, and Roberto Firmino, to come in and maybe start more games than come off the bench?
It reminds me of Robbie Fowler. It's that in the box play. And I think what's amazing about it, look, the 2 goals that he scored for us against West Ham, because I don't think the other one should have been ruled off, but the 2 goals that he scored, and you look at even the last four games that he's come on and made a total difference, he's unbelievable. And that's, you've got to be sitting there in Bobby's shoes and going, right, I've maybe this is the kick up the proverbial backside that he needs, and it's a hard one. But to come back to Matt's point a little bit earlier on, and the development of the player himself. And, you know, to come to Liverpool, to come to a team that's just won the Premier League, not only by a little bit, but by a massive length, like, that's got to be some confidence in your own abilities to be able to walk in. But not only that, you've got to have the platform to do that. And then to come back to your point about Shaqiri, him not wanting to leave as well is a testament to him as a player, and a testament to kind of the overall arching thing that's going forward. So, you know, the depth in the rotation, I'm really excited about Minamino as well. I mean, I think the link-up play between those three players is another thing that's being nurtured and developing. So the five-a-side teams, or whatever they're doing in training at Melwood, and as that carries over into Kirby when we move there after the City game, it's frightening.
Matt, and I know you're a big fan of Jota. I mean, did you see this kind of start coming? And do you think he's put himself in a position now where it's almost he should start in some of the big games coming up?
I mean, look, nobody sees this coming, because you don't want to speculate when somebody comes in. I mean, I think the only player that we expected to come in and do a job at a massive level straight away was probably Van Dijk. You know, but with Jota, I know we've all made the comparison about Mane, and he exceeded our expectations, and, you know, he's doing that so far. But this season is such an anomaly that you can't really say, oh, well, he should be starting. And, like, it's been a bit perplexing in the last few weeks when, not just from a Liverpool perspective, but any team, and a player comes out the side and it's like, oh, he's been dropped. It's like, no, he's not been dropped. He's just not going to play 3 times in 5 days or whatever. Like, there's going to be so much rotation. And that's probably a big reason why we stumped up 45 million on somebody like Jota this summer. In regards to Firmino, look, we all know he's badly out of form, really. He's just not the same player. But what Jota gives you is he gives you the option to play Salah through the middle, Mane on the right. Or if Firmino does start to stake more of a claim, then he might be a more like-for-like replacement. But there's also that option, I think, especially when Thiago is fit and fully fit, that you can go with a 4-2-3-1, and then maybe Thiago with one other, and rotate the midfield a little bit more, because at the moment, with all the injuries in midfield, like, it's having to be the same faces in midfield, and that's going to take a toll when it comes to late November, December time. So just being able to play 2 of the midfielders and sort of rotate the front 4, and even Shaqiri, when Klopp did used to play him in his first season, it would always be within a 4-2-3-1 shape. Seems to be that he kind of trusts him a little bit more when we're playing that style. So that might give him more of an inkling as well. So the options are plenty. Again, it's great to have, even from a relatively small squad, because of the flexibility that we've got. The options are bigger than the actual sum of the amount of players that we have.
Jesus, I completely forgot about Thiago. I mean, that's it. It's just like, what a player. And the performance against Everton, you know, I was speaking with Rob before we came on, and I said it was the best performance of the season for me from Liverpool. And I thought he made our midfield tick. Matt Weed texted during the game and said, you can see what he brings to the team. It's something different. And against West Ham, it would have been electric as well. So I'm excited to see that. I'll just give my opinion on Firmino. I think, yes, he struggled. It's difficult. He finds space as well, but when teams sit deep, he almost becomes a little bit redundant because he's not an in-behind threat. So in those games, I think he struggles. But I still think in the games like Manchester City, he still offers so much. He's a big game player. So I still think in those games he plays, and he plays a massive part. But maybe against Atalanta, you see him get a rest and you know, go to a different front 3. But just, you know, we talk about one end of the field. At the other, something nobody saw coming a few weeks ago. I was at Tony Warner, who you've had on This Is Anfield over the last couple of weeks. He was a Bolton Academy goalkeeper coach, and Nat Phillips was down there, and he was going to go to US, and we talked about it a few years ago. And then I remember texting Bonus. I'm like, is this the same Nat Phillips? And he goes, yeah, he signed with Liverpool. And then fast forward to the West Ham performance. He was an absolute monster against a team. I was nervous because I went, this is Moyes. He's going to be direct. It's going to be ugly. The header clear from the corner, it went over Goodison. I mean, it was like unbelievable. I mean, what did you guys make of the performance? Rob, were you surprised at it? And you know, how great it was to see a player like that at 23 get an opportunity to take the limelight in a big occasion?
Again, mate, Here comes the confidence side of things, and I know that that's kind of been my common thread at the minute. But to walk out there, your Premier League debut, to come out with a man of the match winning performance, and look, you say there's luck sometimes in football, but you've always got to be ready, and it's kind of a big ethos in life, really. I mean, Van Dijk gets injured, then you're looking at Matip, then you got Fabinho, and you're like, hang on a minute, what's happening here? It's all crumbling apart. Steps up, mate. I liked your reference where the ball going over Goodison for sure. I like that baseball reference right over home plate, But,
way back.
That's it. But I think that was the perfect type of game for him, and I know that that's what we were talking about. So maybe against Man City, I don't think it's going to be the same type of game. So the amount of space that was created, the amount, it is a Moyes team. The way that they stepped back, it was that park the bus, and it was blocking the channels. That was their game, right? So I want to come back to two different points on this, and you say about the type of game that we are playing. Whereas Bobby, maybe he's been read too much. It's block Bobby because of what he does off the ball. And to me, that takes me back to a Dirk Kuyt type player off the ball. And you start looking around what that was. It was a Yari Lippmann, and if we think back to that field, that Yari Lippmann and off the ball is what Bobby Firmino brings to the table. So it's as much as what he does kind of on the ball. Yeah, we're all saying it's a bit of a dip in form from what you used to see him, but what Bobby brings to it. Now on the flip end, and when we're talking back to him in the defence, I mean, for me, it's going to be an interesting one against City, and I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm very, very nervous about that. But it's huge. It's huge for the other lads. The fact that Trent and Robbo can still keep bombing up the wing and know that you've got a talisman, and he's there in the centre of the defence. I think him and Allison had a great report as well. That was something that I kind of kept my eye on. I was watching in the church just outside Anfield, and if you've ever been to the church, it's got a massive big screen. So it was kind of great, really. To be fair, pride and place. I felt like I was nearly there.
It's nuts. I mean, just to bring it to that, to be so close and the game is there, and to just not be able, hopefully we get back to that soon. But Rob brings up the Man City game. It's a big week. Atalanta, who were, very impressive last season. They haven't been as impressive to start the season in Serie A. They've been conceding a lot of goals. Then it's Man City. What are your expectations? What are some of the things you're looking for this week in terms of performances from Liverpool?
Expectations, I don't know, again, like with this season just being an absolute crazy one, I kind of don't have any expectations. A draw in Atalanta would be great, like really, honestly, we're in control of the group, so just a draw there would be fine. And I think that maybe that would be the game to sort of not rest too many players, but like you mentioned earlier about Firmino, maybe we see Thiago come off the bench for that one so that he's then ready to start against City. And if Thiago is ready to start against City, you then get the other option of putting Henderson as your centre-back, because you could play Henderson as your centre-back with Gomez, and you could play Wijnaldum with Thiago in the middle. So it'll be interesting to see how we sort of use the squad against Atalanta, because it'll be potentially with one eye on what might happen against City. Jota may start that Atalanta game, and then it means that one of the other forwards is like fully ready against City. He's had a kind of a week's break, and I would like to see the odd player get rested a little bit more, because I think that that's going to be important, especially as we go further into the end of the season. And look, you never know. I know that Liverpool played it very, very close to their chest about the extent of Fabinho's injury, and it's not a severe one. He's been pulled out of the Brazil squad, but there is just something in the back of my mind that thinks maybe, depending on how things go this week, he might be okay for City. We've been the Sunday game as well, that helps. I think there is an outside chance that Fabinho could still make the City game. I'm not saying it will happen, but what a boost that would be if he was.
Yeah, I think, Matt, I don't generally disagree with you, but there is, for me, 0.00% chance Jordan Henderson moves to a position, centre-back against Man City. That's not going to happen. And if it does, I will apologise to everybody. I will apologise to you in front of everyone next week. I think my understanding is Matip is going to be back. And I think that's a logical one. Again, you mentioned Nat Phillips is a player that against West Ham, where it's very physical. That's a game that suits him. Man City a little bit different. Rob, I know you mentioned you're nervous, but for me, I've watched City this year, and they don't look like. I mean, they have a lot of games as well. I think for the Champions League teams, it's been difficult, but City don't look like the team they were, in flashes last season. They're not as prolific. Aguero. I think Aguero's out, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be a tough game, but this is the kind of team that will come out and play. And our front three generally does well. Even the 4-0 loss, I thought we played really well in the first 30 minutes, where we could have had 2 or 3 goals against City, and then they got one and it kind of got away from us. But I don't follow either of your paths here in terms of being nervous. For me, these are the games we live for. But do you see Firmino starting that one, Rob? Or what are your I know you said you're nervous. What are your predictions for the City game in terms of lineup and then result?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're gonna come flying out the gate, mate. This is their cup final. It's been a bit of an embarrassment, really, for Pep. If I'm honest, is truly what I think about that. So every team's going to come in against us. They want to take a stab at the champions, and I think that. Hang on, I just caught myself saying that. A stab at the champions. I still get all giddy saying it.
Feels good.
But I think one of the biggest things is that this for Pep is a cup final, and it has to be. And you're right. I mean, I'd love to see Hendo kind of in that back role, to be honest, but I can't see that happening. For me, it's Matip if he's there all day in that role. To be honest, even over, I know we were talking about Phillips, but I think young Williams as well, I'd have a little bit of a better game against someone like City. Yeah. I think he'd be up for a little bit more of those challenges, and he's an exciting prospect that we haven't even mentioned. So I think there's a bench opportunity for him. But we'll see. I mean, Thiago is the one as a maestro in the midfield. I think what I'm most excited about is just seeing him become ravenous, the same way he was against Everton. For him to just get out there and be unleashed against City is what I'm salivating over, really, to be fair.
Yeah, for me, that's the one. For me, this week is going to be, look, I've covered the Bundesliga for 5 seasons, and to watch Thiago, and it's just, people say, well, he had 2 assists or whatever. I'm like, he sets a tempo like nobody else. We saw the flashes of it against Everton. And I'm looking at 2 teams this week. The West Ham game was a little bit frustrating for me because they sat so deep and there's no space. Our front 3 thrive when you come out and try to play against us. If you want to go toe-to-toe with Liverpool, Salah, Mane, Firmino, they're gonna punish you. And Thiago now midfield, who can get that ball forward a little bit quicker. So for me, these are the kind of games that I think Liverpool can really thrive in. I expect us, the performance levels to improve. It's going to be difficult to get 2 positive results for sure. But I think Liverpool players, I think Jordan Henderson, you say, we're not all just Van Dijk. We want to prove a point as well. So I'm excited for both games, and I think it'll be a good week. And I think at the end of the week, we'll be talking a lot more about Thiago heading into next week's show.